They say hindsight is 20/20ths, but in my case, hindsight came with HD footage, stereo sound, and a timestamp in the top right corner. Her name was Elise. My wife for 7 years. We met on a rainy Tuesday in a bookstore. She knocked over a stack of Hemingway, and I cracked a joke about her starting a revolution. She laughed. I should have known anyone who could laugh that hard at a pun was capable of cruel and unusual punishment. By all accounts, we were the poster couple. Weekend getaways. Mutual friends who envied our spark. She called me her rock. I called her my home. Then came the little things. Her laughter sounded more rehearsed. Her phone was always face down. She forgot our anniversary dinner. I told myself it was stress. Work. Hormones. Mercury in retrograde. Pick your excuse. I tried them all. Now, I'm not a naturally paranoid man. I'm not the guy checking phones or sniffing shirts. But I am a planner. And when things stopped adding up, I didn't confront her. I installed a camera. Not in the house, too cliché. No, I planted it in the one place her guard was down, the car. She called it her little getaway, her safe space between obligations. That Toyota Highlander became her therapist, her sanctuary, and, as I would come to learn, her mobile love nest. The camera was discreet, smaller than a thumb drive, nestled beneath the rearview mirror with a perfect view of the cabin and windshield. Night vision. Audio. Motion triggered. She never noticed. And why would she? I'd given her the car. For her birthday, no less. Complete with a big red bow on top. She cried when I handed her the keys. I cried too, just not for the same reason. At the time, I didn't know what I was looking for. But I knew something was off. The math didn't check out. Her schedule was chaotic. She was coming home smiling but exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with work. So I waited. I checked the footage once a week. Most of it was benign. Singing in traffic, talking to herself, once crying after a bad day. Then came Tuesday. 2 weeks after her birthday. That was the day I saw him. But that's part 3. This story doesn't start with betrayal. It starts with a bow. And a plan. Because I knew something long before the footage confirmed it. People show you who they are when they think no one's watching. And I had started watching. The funny thing about suspicion, it doesn't arrive all at once, screaming down the hallway. No, it shows up like a whisper at midnight. It waits until you're brushing your teeth or staring out the window, then taps you on the shoulder and says, "Hey, doesn't that seem a little off?" That's how it started with Elise. Little inconsistencies. She used to call me when she got off work, every single day, like clockwork. Then it became texts. Then silence. She used to hate cilantro. Suddenly, she was ordering tacos with extra cilantro. Acquired taste, she said. She used to leave her phone charging in the kitchen overnight. Then it was under her pillow. Then it was in the bathroom with the door locked while she showered. I didn't say anything. I took notes. Not literal ones. This wasn't a murder mystery novel. But in my head, I was connecting the dots. And those dots started to form something that didn't look like the woman I married. And still, I wasn't ready to believe it. So I tested her in small ways. One evening, I told her I'd be working late. I wasn't. I drove to a diner across town, got a cup of coffee, and waited. She texted at 7:13. "Miss you. Just watching Netflix and relaxing with tea." The footage from the car told a different story. Engine started at 7:21. Pulled out of the driveway. 15 minutes later, it was parked in a dim lot behind a dentist's office that hadn't seen a patient since 2011. No tea. No Netflix. No honesty. She came home at 10:05 with mint on her breath and a takeout bag that conveniently had no receipt. I asked what she watched. She said a documentary about polar bears. She laughed and added, "You would have loved it." And just like that, my suspicion grew teeth. Still, I didn't confront her. That's not how I operate. Confrontation is emotion. I needed proof. Clean. Unshakable. Something that couldn't be spun with a fake smile and a head tilt. So I set the trap. I told her I was going on a business trip. 2 nights in Chicago. Meetings with clients. Couldn't be helped. She kissed me goodbye at the airport. I never got on the plane. Instead, I rented a small studio on the other side of town, somewhere quiet, somewhere with a monitor and full access to a live camera feed. I watched. And on night 2, I saw it. The Highlander parked in the same dim lot. Passenger door opened. A man got in. Tall. Confident. Familiar in the way men who think they've won tend to be. She leaned over. Kissed him. And my heart didn't break. It got very, very quiet. I didn't sleep that night. Not out of pain. Out of clarity. Pain is what you feel when you don't know. When you're still hoping it's just your imagination or a one-time mistake. But once you know, once you've seen your wife kiss a stranger in the same car you bought her, it's not pain anymore. It's logistics. I made coffee at 2 a.m., sat at the table, stared at my laptop like it was an open casket, watched the footage again. I wasn't torturing myself, I was documenting. Timestamp, 8:36 p.m. Location, back lot behind an abandoned strip mall. She's driving. He's already waiting there. Hoodie, athletic build. Leans in like this wasn't their first time or even their 10th. They didn't say much. She giggled a lot. He adjusted the seat like he'd done it before. They drove around the city for a while, windows cracked, music playing low. She looked younger around him. Or maybe just less married. They stopped by a gas station. He paid for snacks. She came back with a bottle of iced tea mint, again, subtle as a billboard. And then, there was that moment, right before they pulled back into the driveway. She turned to him and whispered something I couldn't quite hear. But the look on her face? Soft, guilty, resigned, like she knew this wouldn't last. Like she knew something was coming. She just didn't know what. When she got out of the car and went inside, he stayed behind for a minute. Adjusted the rear view. Smirked. And that smirk? That's what did it for me. It wasn't the kiss. It wasn't the lie. It was the smirk. The expression of a man who thought I was a fool. He had no idea I'd been watching the whole time. So I downloaded the video. Cut it clean. Just enough to get the point across. No need for audio. The silence said more. Then I started planning. Because see, revenge doesn't come out of nowhere. It's a garden. You have to water it. Trim the hedges. Plant the seeds just deep enough that by the time they bloom, it's too late to run. And I had just the seed in mind. A gift. Wrapped in a red bow. Parked in the driveway. 3 weeks. That's how long I waited. Not because I was second-guessing anything. No. That part of me was gone. She took it with her when she leaned in for that kiss on the footage. I waited because revenge, real revenge, takes patience. The kind of patience you don't learn until someone you trust lights your world on fire and hands you the matches with a smile. The plan was simple. A new car. A red bow. A flash drive. And one document that would send her spinning like a drunk ballerina on a frozen lake. Now let's be clear. I'm not the type to buy luxury vehicles to prove a point. I'm the type to drink store-brand coffee because it all tastes like hot bitterness anyway. But I needed this car to be flashy. Obnoxiously generous. The kind of gift you brag about to your friends, even the ones you pretend not to like. So I bought her a brand new black Audi Q5. Midnight package. Leather seats. More buttons than she'd ever use. I even splurged on the automatic parking system because, hey, what's revenge without a little overkill? The dealership loved it. Thought I was the romantic type. The guy grinning through the pain of a hefty payment because he just loved his wife so much. I played along. Smiled. Nodded. Took the little espresso they offered me and toasted to love. I scheduled the delivery for Saturday morning. Told Elise we were going to brunch. She came down the stairs in one of those casual but perfect outfits, leggings, cardigan, hair tied back like she wasn't trying at all. She smiled when she saw me in the kitchen with coffee already made. Brunch ready? She asked. Almost, I said. But first, I've got a surprise. She looked confused, then suspicious. Elise never liked surprises unless she was giving them. Okay, what kind of surprise? Come outside. I stepped out before she could ask more questions. Walked ahead of her down the driveway like a magician leading his mark to the final trick. She followed, barefoot on the pavement, and gasped. There it was, the Audi, gleaming in the morning sun like a trophy. Big red bow on top. Her name already on the plate. She stood still for a moment. And I'll tell you, if you've never seen a liar caught off guard by kindness, you're missing out. Her eyes darted, lips parted, brain running diagnostics. Oh my God, she said, finally. You bought me a car? I smiled. Tilted my head like a proud idiot husband. I did. Thought you deserved something special. She walked around it, touching the door handle like it was made of glass. She turned and wrapped her arms around me, burying her face in my chest. I didn't flinch. You're the best, she whispered. Yeah, sure. I handed her the keys. Go on. Take it for a spin. The paperwork's in the glove box. Everything's ready. She climbed in, already picturing the Instagram photos. I walked back inside to grab my wallet, which was just an excuse to give her privacy. She wouldn't look right away, not with me standing there. But she would look. Inside the glove compartment, neatly tucked into a leather folder, were 3 things. The flash drive. The vehicle title. The transfer of ownership documents. The flash drive was labeled Play Me. The title had her name already filled out and scratched out. And the transfer document? That one was signed and notarized 2 days earlier. Elise looked radiant behind the wheel. She adjusted the seat, started the engine, and tapped the center console screen. I could see her lips moving as she said, "What's this?" She popped open the glove compartment and pulled out the folder. I didn't watch her play the video. That wasn't for me. That was for her. For the man she thought she'd fooled. For the husband she thought was too soft, too trusting, too easy. I made the video clean. Just the two of them. No narration. No music. No edits beyond cuts for time. Just cold, still evidence. I wanted her to feel it in her gut. The moment her face softened at his touch. The way she tilted her head when he leaned in. The intimacy that doesn't happen by accident. It was all there, neatly packed into 4 minutes and 16 seconds. Just enough time for the Audi to become something else entirely, a monument to her own undoing. She came back inside 20 minutes later. Silent. Face pale. Eyes red. "Who's the car for?" she asked, holding the paperwork. I looked at her, dead calm. "It's for someone who deserves it." She looked down again. Scanned the transfer document. I watched her read the name. Margaret Lantham. My mother. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Like someone had unplugged the script and she didn't know how to ad-lib. I took a sip of coffee and nodded toward the door. "I suggest you move your things before she gets here. She's not a fan of clutter." Elise stood there, barely breathing. "You planned this. From the moment I saw you lie with your eyes and smile at the same time." And with that, I stood up, walked past her, out the door. And as I stepped into my truck, my car, paid in full, no bow required, I saw her sit back down in the driver's seat of the Audi, the shine of the red bow still catching sunlight like nothing had happened. But everything had. The bow was the first to go. I watched from the upstairs window as Elise ripped it off the hood like it had personally insulted her mother. She flung it to the driveway, where it landed pathetically, a crumpled pile of synthetic cheer. Then she just sat in the car. Door open. Engine off. Flash drive still in her hand, like it might morph into something else if she stared hard enough. My mother arrived 10 minutes later in a beat-up Civic that made noises like it had arthritis in all 4 tires. Elise didn't even notice, too busy trying to process how her free luxury car had turned into a Trojan horse. My mom parked behind the Audi, got out, and stood with her hands on her hips. My mother's not a tall woman. She's not loud. But she's got this presence. The kind that lets you know she raised 3 kids, buried a husband, paid off her mortgage, and still manages to cook a roast every Sunday. And right now, she looked at Elise the way a librarian looks at a kid who dog-eared every page of a first edition. "Sweetheart," she called out. "You're in my seat." Elise looked up, blinking like she'd been underwater. She stepped out of the Audi, and for a moment, I thought she was going to try one of those crocodile tears moves. I can explain that I was going through something, that it didn't mean anything routine. Instead, she just handed my mom the keys. Didn't say a word. Good instincts for once. "Thank you," my mother said calmly, slipping into the driver's seat like she'd been waiting for this moment since Nixon resigned. She adjusted the mirrors, took one long look around the interior, then turned the engine over. "Elijah," she shouted up toward the window, not even looking. "Drive smooth. You did good." I raised my coffee mug to her in salute. Elise looked up at me, her face a mix of regret, disbelief, and something new, respect. But it was too late for that. Respect, when earned at the price of betrayal, comes with a receipt no one wants to look at. She didn't ask to come inside. Didn't beg. Didn't even raise her voice. She got into her old car, my old car, technically, and backed out of the driveway like she was leaving a crime scene. She was. Now, let me pause here and clarify something. This wasn't about the car. This wasn't about money. This was about clarity. See, Elise had spent months, maybe longer, playing a role. Acting like I was some dependable background character in the movie of her life. The safe bet. The good man she could come home to after rolling around in the mud with someone exciting. But what she never understood, what so many people like her never understand, is that good doesn't mean weak. It means controlled. Measured. Willing to let you hang yourself with the rope you brought into the house. The next few days were quiet. She sent a few texts. "Can we talk? You caught me off guard. Please don't make this ugly." Didn't respond to a single one. The lawyer took care of that. All communication goes through him now. It's amazing how fast someone goes from bold to silent when faced with a billable hour. She tried to spin it, of course. Told a few mutual friends that I snapped, that I was emotionally unstable. One even said she hinted I might have planted the video somehow, deepfake or some nonsense. But you know what the beautiful part of truth is? It doesn't need to convince anybody. It just waits. And truth had time on its side. The guy, her little passenger seat paramour, reached out once. Sent me a single message on Instagram. You didn't have to humiliate her. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my phone. No response, of course. That was never for him. This wasn't revenge on him. He was just the accessory to the betrayal, like a lousy necklace on a bad outfit. No, this was all Elise. She'd made the choice. The lie. The kiss. The secret meetups in a car I paid for. And now? Now she got to sit in the front row and watch the trailer for the movie she directed. The Audi's doing well, by the way. My mom named it Justice. Says it handles like a dream. Sometimes she calls me just to tell me how good the heated seats feel on her back after her yoga class. And every time I hear her start the engine, I remember how Elise smiled the day I gave her the keys. Not a real smile. A smile built on assumption. On the belief that I was so thoroughly wrapped around her finger that she could cheat with impunity and still get gifts wrapped in bows. She was half right. I did wrap something in a bow. Just not the way she hoped. You'd think a car and a flash drive would be enough to end things. But no, people like Elise always think they can negotiate their way out of a free fall. A week after the incident, she called my lawyer. She wanted to meet. Said she needed closure. I agreed, on one condition. The meeting would be recorded. Every word. We met at her attorney's office. Neutral ground. She wore a white blouse like she was trying to cosplay innocence. I wore gray. Appropriate. Elijah, she said with a weak smile, I've had time to think. You should have tried that earlier. She sighed. I know I hurt you, but we don't need to destroy each other. I just looked at her, then slid a photo across the table, her and the guy, mid-kiss, timestamp in bold. Her face drained. I'm not here to destroy anything, Elise. I'm here to finish what you started. She turned to her lawyer, who looked like he regretted every life choice that brought him to that chair. We want to propose an amicable split, he began. I cut him off. Great. I get the house, the boat, and full ownership of the business assets she tried to hide. Elijah, Elise began. No, you don't get to rewrite this story. You directed it. I'm just reading the last chapter. Her lawyer muttered something about unreasonable terms. I smiled. I'm not being unreasonable. I'm being accurate. The divorce went public 2 weeks later. Elise tried to control the narrative, spun it like we grew apart, and were taking time to rediscover ourselves. But the footage had leaked. I didn't release it. Not directly. I just left my laptop unlocked at a bar one night. Footage pulled up. Can't help it if someone saw and took a screen recording. Accidents happen. Social media did the rest. Suddenly, Elise was no longer the elegant, poised professional people admired. She was the woman caught cheating in a car her husband bought twice. Friends stopped calling. Her job offered a sabbatical. Apparently, judgment is a valued trait at PR firms. Funny how that works. There's a look people get when they realize they're not the victim, they're just exposed. Elise wore that look during the final hearing. Her voice cracked as her attorney listed her contributions to the marriage. She avoided my eyes the entire time. I didn't flinch, didn't smirk, didn't blink. That's what broke her. Not the evidence, not the settlement, the silence. Because when you scream at someone, it means you still care. But when you say nothing, that's final. The judge awarded me everything I asked for. She tried to argue for spousal support, claimed she'd sacrificed years of her life for me. I handed the judge a copy of her calendar from the past year, color-coded entries of her appointments. None of them included me. Request denied. The last time I saw Elise, she was loading boxes into a rented sedan. She looked smaller than I remembered, like someone had let the air out of her confidence. I didn't go outside. Just watched from the porch, arms folded. She turned once, looked up, as if hoping for a wave, a nod, something. I lifted my coffee mug. She lifted nothing. Just got in the car and drove off. No music. No bell. Just the sound of consequences rolling down the street. People ask if I regret it. The camera. The flash drive. The whole slow burn vengeance. And I tell them this. I regret trusting someone who was rehearsing their betrayal while I was planning our future. But I don't regret the ending. Because sometimes closure isn't a hug, or a heart-to-heart, or one last tearful goodbye. Sometimes closure is a car with a bell, a flash drive in the glove compartment, and the calm knowledge that you didn't just walk away from the fire. You handed them the match.